Okay, very first shots through my own Wildcat 300 Karcher, and we're doing a ladder test. All right, let's see what we do. Wow, 3,094. This is a 168 grain Sierra Match King, and that was starting load of 66 grains of powder. Okay. Let's check our notebook. That was 3,094. That's already over what Quick Load predicted. All right, how's it going, everyone? So today, I'm really excited to make this video because I have created and developed my very own Wildcat cartridge. And what I've done is, I've taken a 6.5 Weatherby RPM case and necked it up to a 30 caliber bullet. I've done a little bit of testing. I did a ladder test with 3 different bullet weights, and it's right there with 300 Winchester. And I haven't fully explored, where max pressure is yet. In my ladder tests, not one had a flattened primer, not one had a sticky bolt lift or sticky extraction. So, I could probably push it even faster, depending, I might be right there at maximum pressure. I don't know yet. I'll have to do more testing with it, but so far I haven't reached that limit. And I've been really impressed and really happy with the results that I've been getting. The test rifle is this Winchester XPR that was a 30-06. And the only thing I've done is cut the chamber. This is still the 30-06 magazine. I haven't modified the rifle in any way to help feeding or anything like that. This is all the same rifle as it was when it came out of the box, with the exception of the chamber. Make sure that it's seated properly. It feeds chambers and ejects just fine. And just being able to cut that new chamber and get a ton more performance has been really exciting. I don't think it's the greatest magazine design. That one, but the point remains, it doesn't matter how fast you work that bolt. These cartridges are going to feed, which is, honestly a huge part of why I decided to do this rather than just go with a WSM or, in this case, 6.8 Western. I've never been a fan of the short stubby, the short magnums basically. But, as much as I don't mind having belted cartridges, it is nice when you're reloading to not have those belts. And the other nice thing is this cartridge has a rebated rim, which is why I was able to take a box stock 30-06 and use it without any further modifications. This is a .473 bolt head, so any 30-06 can be recut to this chambering, and as long as it's capable of, firing modern ammunition at these higher pressures, there shouldn't be any issues with it. And my understanding is some of these Winchester short mags do have a few feeding issues because of that steep shoulder and the short stubby case. I never fell into the whole short actions are better thing. I don't like short actions. I think I own 2 short action rifles. The rest are all long actions, as far as hunting rifles are concerned. The reason why I didn't go with another Weatherby and went with that Winchester is, one, it's like 80% of the rifle for half the cost. These Mark V's are very expensive rifles. Even, the basic ones, you're still almost twice what you pay for the Winchester. The other thing is, with this cartridge, this action length is hindering the performance of this cartridge. I wasn't able to really seat that bullet out as far as I wanted to because of magazine length constrictions. And according to my notebook here, 3.338, and I'll even fire up this thing, see what this is actually. Yeah, 3.338. Any longer, and it will not feed from the magazine. I mean, if you wanted to use this as a single shot, yeah, you could feed them out quite a bit further, but that's not the point of a repeating bolt action hunting rifle. You want to have those secondary shots. With this particular rifle, these are not the best example. These are 3.306 to the groove in the bullet. But for the 168 grain Sierra Match King and the 200 grain Nosler AccuBond, it's 3.414 was the cartridge overall length. And there's a ton of room in that magazine. So by using this longer action, I can take advantage a little bit better of that larger powder capacity than I could with the Weatherby rifle. The other thing is, and I'll do a separate video on this, is, this rifle is too light. And the biggest thing that I ran into, issues-wise, while I had this in Africa, and I took several game animals quite successfully. Nothing I shot with this required a follow-up shot. But this rifle is so light that on, I think it was the second or third day of my hunt, the wind was catching the rifle, and I couldn't get a good shot because of how much this rifle was moving in the wind. Now this rifle, this XPR, isn't a ton heavier. It still wouldn't be too much of a chore to carry, but I feel like it's just heavy enough to be that much more stable if you're in like a very windy environment. Like I totally understand where all these super light rifles, like why. I think it's awesome if all you're doing is carrying it, especially if you're in really nasty or hilly or mountainous terrain. That light rifle, I think this weighs just a shade under 7 pounds with this scope on it. And it was wonderful to carry compared to my 375, which is like almost 13 and a half pounds. So, carrying it was wonderful. Trying to shoot it in 50 mile an hour crosswinds, not so much. that's all I'm going to say about that rifle for now. The next thing I want to do is, this is another Winchester XPR. I have not fired this rifle yet. This is in 270 Winchester. Same exact setup as this 30 caliber here. Same exact setup. I don't know what I'm going to do with the scope yet, but this is set up and ready to test. I'm going to get a different scope for this. I don't know what yet. At some point I'm going to get another reamer, and it'll be the same exact design parameters, but in 270 caliber. And really, why I think I was able to get such amazing results from a relatively short powder charge compared to like a standard 300 Winchester is I decided to make this with the same free bore as the 300 Weatherby. So I think one of the issues that plagues this cartridge, the 6.5 parent, is they use a very, very short free bore for this cartridge. And it's not, when they say this is nothing like the original Weatherby cartridges, they mean it is nothing like any of the original Weatherby cartridges. This one, on my Wildcat, I'm trying to bring that back a little bit because I do think there are some benefits. I'm not after trying to make a one-hole group at 500 yards. I mean, hell, I won't even take a shot at an animal much more than that. I don't care about, shooting matches with it. I just need it to be accurate enough to put the bullet into the kill zone of whatever animal I'm trying to shoot. I think I'd rather have that extra punch than the little bit more accuracy. The other thing is, by having that really long free bore, I can seat these bullets way, way out there. If I had built these on like a Vanguard action or a Howa 1500, those actions are the same exact length as their like the 300 Weatherby action is. It's the same exact length, and from everything I could tell, it's the same magazine length as well. So you could seat those bullets so that the base of the bullet is right there at the neck, and probably get away with feeding that from the magazine. But they don't have the detachable box magazines, and setting those rifles up for that is kind of cost prohibitive versus buying these, which is already set up and ready to go, and it does give me enough that I can play with it a little bit. But yeah, right there with 300 Winchester Magnum Performance with this Wildcat. And honestly, I think Weatherby should be putting more emphasis on other calibers based on this cartridge, but as far as I know, they won't. The 6.5 I think came out in 2018 or 19. I'll have to check that because I'm not sure exactly. And then the 338 RPM came out shortly after that. And realistically, I don't think they're going to do anything else with it if it's been that long and they haven't come up with anything new yet. I like the parent cartridge for what it is. I'm not a fan of the 6.5s, but this is an incredibly flat shooting cartridge. And it was effective on the African game animals that I shot. But I feel like if I was going to take another rifle, I would take this before I took my 6.5 again. I would take my Wildcat before I took my 6.5 RPM. Because I do feel that much more confident in a larger diameter bullet. And maybe that's just an old school way of thinking. maybe it doesn't apply anymore, but it makes me feel better. And I feel like, you know, having the confidence in your cartridge, it goes a long way. And obviously, shot placement is the most important thing, always has been and always will be. But if you think that much more highly of what you're shooting, I feel like the tendency is to shoot it a little bit better. And you know, this isn't punishing to shoot. My 300 Weatherby, that sucks. I don't really like shooting it all that much. Honestly, I'm kind of glad that I burned the barrel out of it, because this 6.5 kicks like a 243 with this brake on there. That being said, this rifle with its factory brake on there, I don't think this was much worse than shooting a 308 maybe. You know, it lets you know. You definitely know you touched the cartridge off. But again, it wasn't punishing by any means. I think the whole setup has just been amazing from the get-go. When I was shooting it as a 30-06 to test the accuracy before I cut the chamber, it felt a lot like a 270 with a plain barrel. It's just not a hard kicker. And maybe it's the stock design too. Definitely a lot of it was this brake. But, you know, it's that part is important, because if it doesn't suck to shoot it, and the other thing too is this really soft recoil pad. But if it doesn't suck to shoot it, you're going to practice with it a lot more, which is, you know, I'm at the point now where I hand load all of my hunting cartridges anyway, so that's not really an issue. But, you know, the less it sucks, the more you want to shoot it, basically, is what I'm getting at. And this was actually really nice to shoot. My buddy, he does Deke Outdoors. He's got a 300 WSM, and we're going to put these rifles head to head. Eventually, we're going to do a podcast on these rifles. He was always enamored with the 300 Ruger Compact Magnum, which I think would be a fantastic cartridge. I wish Ruger didn't partner with Hornady in that regard, because that cartridge never got a fair shake. But that's just one of the many reasons why I don't like Hornady as a company, and there's a reason why none of my reloading equipment is Hornady, except these 180 grain bullets, which I'm using as testing fodder, basically. I wouldn't shoot a game animal with them. I wouldn't disrespect the animal like that. But yeah, that's basically where I'm at now. It's been a while since I made a video, because I've been working on this Wildcat and doing these tests. Eventually, I'll get some more load data and actually come up with, you know, where the upper maximum is for these loads, and really ring this thing out and see what it can do. But so far, it is incredibly, incredibly promising. I probably missed a ton of the talking points I wanted to talk about. My brain is going 1,000 miles an hour right now, but I'm struggling to maintain like a normal speaking voice, because I am so excited about this project. It's very hard to keep my thoughts focused on this, because there's a million things I want to talk about, and I will just ramble on for probably several hours if left unattended. But yeah, next time I go to Africa, this rifle is coming with me. I need to have the caliber changed on the barrel, and that's about it. Other than that, the rifle is ready to go. I would feel confident, you know, with this 200 grain AccuBond load at 2877, you know, I would feel 100% confident taking any game in North America and any of my plains game animals that I shot. I think it would absolutely be a stellar performer. And, you know, I I didn't shoot it for groups because I was doing the ladder test, and you know, I was focused mostly on trying to record that data. However, there were quite a few of those holes that were touching on the target, and I think the accuracy potential is there. I don't think it'll be quite as accurate as that 6.5, but it's more than accurate enough as a hunting rifle to do the job that I intend for it to do. But yeah, and also this 270, I have not shot this yet, but at some point when I get a scope for it, I do have a few boxes of 270 Winchester. I'll test this thing out, see what the accuracy potential is for this, and then at that point, and I'm sure it'll shoot just as good as the 30-06 did before I cut it to the 300. But I'm really excited to see what this 270 will do also. And honestly, if this is half of what I expect it to be, it's gonna stomp a hole through the 270 Winchester short mag. It'll stomp this 6.5 RPM into the ground. Like, I'm just, this cartridge, this lengthened 284 base cartridge, is exactly what I wanted to design 10 years ago, 15 years ago. You know, when I was still, that was back before I was even reloading. But I saw that 284 cartridge and I'm like, that's a great idea. But nobody made this lengthened 284 base cartridge at that time. And honestly, when Weatherby came out with the 6.5 RPM, I was more than a little disappointed, because that was right as like the 6.5 Creedmoor was popping off. You know, all these other 6.5 cartridges. You know, I wouldn't touch a 6.5 Creedmoor. It's not that I think it's a bad cartridge, but I don't like the fanboys and I don't like the company that developed it, because I don't like Hornady. So I'll never own a 6.5 Creedmoor. This is probably the only 6.5 I'll ever own, unless for whatever reason I end up with a 6.5 300, which is also the Weatherby cartridge. I'll take that. I'm sure that's a phenomenal performer, but I'm at the point now where I'm kind of getting over my magnemitis, but not enough to not do something like this. So, you know, when I got my 300 Weatherby, and I got that secondhand. I don't know how much it's been shot before I got it. I ended up shooting the barrel out because I was practicing shooting it before I went on the Africa hunt, and then that's the whole reason why I ended up getting this. And, you know, I wanted something that was flat shooting and hard hitting. And I think at the time, the only thing I had was a 35 Whalen, and that had feeding issues. That's also another candidate for this. I don't know what the differences are between the 6.5 and the 338 RPM are. It might be better to use that 338 RPM case to neck up to a 35 caliber bullet, but I think that would be an absolute stunning performer. Just real quick, I'll throw this magazine and dummy rounds in there again. And it's just so smooth to feed. Like, no problems feeding, chambering, or ejecting. It blows me away. And maybe I got lucky with everything that I decided to use for this test. But I'm beside myself right now with how well everything has gone with this project. You know, I never thought I would actually ever get to design my own Wildcat, let alone actually have something that works as well as this does. And I'm just over the moon at this point, to be honest with you. I've probably rambled on long enough, so I'm going to cut this off here. But yeah, this is the current project, and hopefully I can get some good numbers out of this thing when I can test a few more primers and a few more powders in it. Anyway, that's all I got for now. Have a good one, guys. Okay. 300 Karcher, first shots, a 180 grain Hornady Spire Point. $29.03. This is a ladder test. And that is right in line with what Quick Load said I should be getting. $29.04. $29.67. So, putting all this into Quick Load. Quick Load says I should be getting $29.34, and that is with a 64 grain max charge, or rather 67.5. But I'm doing this ladder test, and I just fired a 65 grains. And I'm already well over. No pressure signs yet. I'm gonna fire one more. This gun doesn't like it if you don't feed it from the magazine. Gonna fire one more and see what she does. Error. Let's check our case. Nothing yet. It's disappointing. 66 grains. Come on. Error again. That one thumped pretty good. Nothing yet. Why am I getting errors on my chronograph? That's annoying. They might be a little too far over. Okay. 66.5. See what we get. 2982. Looks okay. $67. $30.35. Okay. 67.5, and this is what Quick Load calls max. $30.57. Mind you, this is a 180 grain bullet. Here's 68. $30.69. All these velocities seem to be very, very similar. All right. Let's see. 68. Primers still look okay. And this is the highest charge that I loaded for this bullet weight. Okay. $30.62. All these primers look pretty much the same.